Morning. All right, I want to walk you through another grayscale, and I am going to be using my Marco Renoirs. They are an oil base. Okay, if you want to push pause, these are the colors I'm going to be using today. I'm just going to do just a couple petals just to kind of show you a little bit more about how I do grayscale. And I do have some grayscale pictures available on my Etsy shop. So there's that. I went through and picked my colors. Now my colors are not exact. Okay. In fact, like my darkest and my pinks is really this burgundy color. But when I look down here in the deep, it is kind of that burgundy color. Now I don't have all these in between shades that are shown in the picture, but I did go through here and this is a reason I make swatches, and I do sell blank swatches over on my Etsy. But so yeah, they're just the blank papers and they're already hole punched, and instead of coming with a ring, I've started using little metal long skinny things that wrap around and screw together. They just seem sturdier. So, and they're bendable, so I can squash them into my books, whereas this I cannot squash. So anyway, you just go through and you start matching up which colors, and I ended up with these. All right, I don't want to take a lot of time on that because I feel like we've talked about picking colors before. And I almost always hold my pencils light to dark. If you'll just get used to doing that, then you can just grab them and go. So again, this is going to be number 5, number 71, number 30, and number 92. I did not look to see if these are on the conversion chart or not. I know the pencil group is, the Renoirs. I don't know if these particular colors are. So if you're not using Renoirs and you want to follow along with exact colors, go to the conversion chart on my Etsy and see if it's listed or not. If not, pick something close. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Let's just go ahead and start with this petal right here. You see there's a lot of light area on here, and I am going to go back to working in the circles that I like to work in so much, just because for me it's easier blending. Now I'm getting a glare from where I'm sitting. How are y'all doing? Yeah, so you're not going to see that very much at all. So let's see if we can zoom in. I know it's going to bump. That's because I do not have a remote for my phone, and that's what I work from, is my phone camera. There, you can see where I've started working in that light area. So I'm just going to start with my little circles overlapping, and this petal has a lot of light area in it. And I just want you to see how long it really does take. And I'm doing these circles pretty quickly, but it just takes time to get all this color in here. All right. Now, I'm going to go over and over this middle section because I want it to be this color. As I get along this outside edge, I'm not going to go over it as much because I want to blend another color in with that. All right, so let's put all this down for a minute. If I have heavy color here and then light color here, then when I do the next part and I do heavy color and then light color, those light colors will overlap easier and make one fluid area from one color to the next. Okay, I hope that helps you understand what I'm doing. See, this is my hand. These are my fingers coming out lighter. Okay, so this is the lightest area, so I've got my lightest pencil going. I'll make my circles a little smaller out here because I want to get up next to that area but still be able to blend the next color in. And I did not try these colors out ahead of time blending That is something that you would probably want to do. You will find it very helpful. And what I mean by that is I could have gone over here on my scratch paper, taken this 05, and then get lighter over here, darker here, lighter over here. This is the blending area. Then come in with my next color and make sure that I'm going to be able to blend it. So heavier here, because see, there's quite a difference in those. But then lighter as I go to the left, heavier to the right, and then going back with that first color, going over it some more. And if I can blend from one color to the next, blend all this together, then I know those colors are going to work okay. So you want it to blend from one color to the other. And as long as you can get that all to blend well, then your colors are going to work good. So that's just a way to test it. And mine did work, so I'm okay. All right, so let's finish working this area, and this is going to be light right here on this edge. We'll put just a touch of dark in there in a little bit, but not the dark. We don't want to go. You hardly ever will go from your lightest color to your darkest. It's just too hard to blend and will not look right. Okay? But I still have, you can see how there's a little bit of white still peeking through on here, and it's because there's tooth or mountains and valleys in paper. We don't always see it because a lot of times it's like microscopic, but it's there. And when you run out of tooth in the paper, you can no longer add any more color. But as long as you're getting white poking through, then there is still tooth left in that paper and you've not filled all the little mountains and valleys with the color. Now that should be starting to show up for you. Yeah, it is. And see, it's because I finally have enough layers that it's covering all that white. It is the paper. So this will take time. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the picture for you so that you can see what I am doing, and I'm just going over and over. I'm not coming in here and just scribbling and pushing hard. This is light layers over and over. And that's how I'm going to get the soft look of a petal. Now, if I were doing brick, I could go back and forth and be just fine. If I were doing bark on a tree or a wood floor, I could go back and forth and be just fine. But I want this soft. Okay, I want it much softer. So in that case, I've got to go with my lighter and just do it over and over. And there is still white showing through there, but I'm going to move on to the next color. All right, so then this next color, if I want this to look like it's humped and a dip right here, the dip is going to need to be a little darker, okay, because it's further down where this is lifted up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this next color, but I'm going to put it right next to the edge here and here, okay, because that's the up. This is down, so it's going to get the next shade darker right there, and that'll make that look more recessed. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of hard to understand sometimes, so let's just do it, and that will help you to understand a little bit more. But see how this one's up? It's got there's just a slight curve in that. That means I want this color going right next to it. And then I'll leave a little bit of space here and put the darker right there, and that'll make that recede around and make it look like it's folded or tucked under. So it's just learning to manipulate your pencils. Okay, just learning to make them do what you want. And there's a slight point here, but then it does get dark on that edge because it rolls under. And I can see that because I've got the original right here. A lot of times when you do purchase off of my Etsy, I am going to send you also the color copy because I want you to be able to compare and color along with what you see. That way, when you go to a book that doesn't necessarily show what color things should be, or if it's not grayscale and doesn't show you where these shadows are, by practicing grayscale, you're going to learn where those shadows are. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. All right, I am going to move this slightly, but keeping it in the frame for you. That way, I'm at a more comfortable angle with my coloring. So when you're coloring, you move your paper however you need to be able to get the strokes where you want them and to be comfortable. Now see how I'm going slightly into what we did before? Remember that first color? I did it harder, or not harder, but more layers here and less out here. That's why it's blending, because now I'm doing a little less here and more out here. And then up closer to the edge, I'm going to do just a little, because I'm going to come in with that next color, and that's where it's going to overlap. All right, let's get just a little color here so that we can overlap in a minute. We never want to go from a light color straight to a dark color. Well, I won't say never. There might be a time. But if you jump colors too quickly, it's going to be really hard to get that soft blending. Now I'm going to come back with that first color and just go over where it overlapped, just to help blend that just a little bit more. And yeah, it may take you 10, 15, 20 minutes to do a petal, but I'm telling you, when your piece is finished, it's going to look like you took that time. So if you see people spitting out 2, 3, 4 pictures a day, either that's all they do, or they're really rushing through it. All right. It's not about speed. It's not about getting a lot of pages done at one time. It's about enjoying, having fun. For me, it's about really blending those colors, because I like to manipulate the pencils. Whenever I used to sew my husband's suits, you know, certain patterns say, not for stripes. Well, that was open invitation to me to use a striped fabric. It's just the way I work. You know, don't tell me I can't, because that's just going to make me want to. So I won't say you're never going to blend any of these. There might be times that you do, but it's going to be the exception. Now, I'm just going in here and drawing that in so that whenever I start coloring here in a minute, I know where those edges are. We have lost and found edges, and I don't know that I have spoken about that before. If I go straight from here to here and don't put some sort of color there, I'm going to lose the edge of this petal into the back of this petal. So that's a lost edge. So I'm going to come in here and find that edge. Okay? Just like this is dark, so I don't want to put dark right here. I will lose this petal into that one. But I know that I want part of this to look like it's tucked under. So I can come here just on the edge a little bit, and that'll help it look like it's curled under. And right here, I want this a little darker. And then I'm going to real light touch. I mean, I am barely touching my paper, folks. Barely touching that paper. But I want it to look like that's curled around and recessed to the back. I want this to look like it's slightly curled under. So I will work and make it, see how that's almost a V shape, a triangle? That's going to help that to look like it's more curved under. Okay, I'm going to turn my paper. Y'all don't get dizzy on me here. Same thing here. I want this to look like it's a little bit curled under. And this is popping up some. So now I'm going to do that little V shape. Just ever so slightly. Keep light touch. And I can put that dark there, but then that means this edge has to either be darker or lighter so that I don't lose the edge I'm working on right now. Okay, and the more you do that, the more you'll get it. It just takes practicing and working on it and taking your time. I'm going to go ahead and do that in there solid, or pretty solid. I'm going to come back with my darkest color yet. We haven't used it yet. I'm going to come back in with that darkest color and deepen up in here so that it looks like it's tucked way back up under there. And I may only get time to do this one petal. I will go put this picture up on my Etsy later for those of you that would like to purchase. It's something that I did hand out to the ladies over on Coloring Books Keep It Clean. So if you're a member over there, you can just go pick it up. It's in the photo album. But it is a ladies only group. So you guys, sorry. Now I am going to come in strokes. Do you see that? And I'm pushing down here and then lifting. Push and lift, push and lift. And what that's doing is putting just a little bit of texture on the edge of this petal. Now I'm going to come back in and do my circles down the side. But it's just adding just a little bit of texture and variety. And you get that in roses, okay? Now this is folded around a little bit, so I'm just going to come down here ever so slightly down that edge. But I don't want to get that very dark at all. Okay? So, and I know you can see all of this. That is called the bloom. And that is where the pencil, now these are an oil base, and usually you see that with a lot of wax base, but it's just where the pencil is really starting to stack up with the color. Now see, this looks almost like a brown, but what that's doing is making it deeper so it looks like it's way back in here. Can you see this right here? That's going to be all this dark color, because it's pushed way back up under there. And that's how you get depth in your pictures, is by making sure that some of it is pushed back up under. Okay, so just use your dark sparingly. But it makes that petal look like it's coming out from under these other petals. And I don't want to use much over here at all, because this needs to be darker. See how that's darker right there? It's not as dark as this, but it is darker. Okay, so now that I've got that on, I am going to come back with the next color down, and I'm going to blend what I just did. And I'm going to show you how to take care of all that shininess that's on there in a minute. Okay, so don't even worry about that right now. Okay, so blending this out. Just blending that dark color with the color that I used before. Same thing here. Blending that dark color with the color I used before. All right. Put a little bit more of this right there. Now I'm going to come in with the color that was next to that. Now that was the number 30. So now I'm going to take the number 71 and I'm going to blend those with the color that came before. Always blend with your lighter of your two shades, and it'll just look a whole lot better. And it's a whole lot easier to blend with the lighter than with the darker. And see how I'm just going over and over. I'm overlapping the color that I did before with the color I've got now. And see how that really has blended? I don't know that it's showing up for, there you go. Do you see that? See how it's just really blended? Okay. So I may have to start working on a little bit of an angle so that y'all can really see this better. But I'm coming in with that next lighter color and just blending away at all of this. These Marco Raffines are an oil base, and they don't leave it feeling oily. That's not what oil base is. It just means that for the binder in the pencils, they're using some oil instead of a graphite or instead of wax. Your Prismacolors are a wax base. Okay, so it's different. See, so I'm coming in now and just doing some blending. Yes, I am going to come back with the next lighter color and do more blending there too. Most definitely. And that's how this entire petal is going to look and take more shape. And see, when I get here, I want to blend. See, I'm going down hard and then lifting. That's why I'm letting you hear it hit like that. And then I'm going to come up through here. So I'm going around the outside where I had changed all the colors back and forth and just doing that blending. And you see now, you could take, and that's the thing when you purchase off my Etsy, I give you the freedom to run off as many copies as you want. And in fact, there's a rosebud in my Etsy shop that I did in the pink, and then I did it again in purple. So all you have to do is pick your different colored pencils and just be sure you're blending out and following the lights and the darks in the Greyscale. That's why Greyscale is easier. It shows you where to put your lighter colors and your darker colors. Now I'm going to just come in some with this color. This is the number 30, no, number 71, number 71. And I'm going to come in some with it because all I did was the outside edge. So now I'm going to come in some, and then we're going to come back with the next lighter color and go over that. But I want it to be a little bit faded. Remember how I said the colors crisscross over? So I have to come in a little so that I have some of that lighter color coming in. Now I'll go to my lightest shade. Okay, this is my number 5. And now I'm going to come in and just blend. Circle, circle, circle. And if you're used to doing straight lines, do your straight lines, but make sure that you're blending them because you don't want to end up with just lines. This way, if I have any of that white poking through, at least it's in circles and not straight lines. And so it looks a little softer. So you're just going over all of this. takes a lot of layers. In fact, my hand is getting tired already. I usually last a little longer than that. Do you see how that's all blended? Do you see how there's still white showing through? That's because we need more layers yet. So I am going to reach across the table. I'm going to try not to bump anything. Grabbing a tissue because I want to show you how I get rid of all that wax, not the wax, the oil buildup, the bloom that's on the picture. Okay, I really want to get that white from the paper popping through. Paper has mountains and valleys. And when you've still got white, it means that your pencil is up on top of the mountain. And you need to do another layer to push that top layer down into the valley. And the more grain you have in your paper, the more mountains and valleys, the more layers it's going to take. But that also means it gives you more of a chance to really blend your colors. I know how we love to blend our colors. You blend them well enough, and your picture will look like a photo. We had company Friday night, and the guy asked me, he says, "What did you paint that with?" And I looked up and grinned, and it was one of my pictures I had colored. And I said, "Oh, colored pencil." He took it out of my hands, looked at it, and went, "No way." And it's because I had put so many layers on that you could not see the white paper through it all. Okay? It was just layer after layer. And it takes time. And I guess it depends on what you're doing with your pictures. I'm using mine for teaching for the most part, but there's some that you want to frame or that you want to fold in half and make it into a card. Then you want to be sure that that's blended nice. It's more impressive when you send it to someone if it's really well blended. Okay, now you can see with it laying right there all that bloom that's over in this section. Clean tissue, okay, perfectly clean. I'm just wadding it up good. See how it's smooth right there on that edge? Got a smooth area. All right. All I'm doing is rubbing. You want to try to stay in your area because you don't want to rub the pink that's on here to some other area. Now I'm going in circles. Doesn't matter. But yeah, just try to stay in the area that you've colored. Now, do you see that? Look at that shine. Okay, all the bloom streaks are totally gone. See the little pitted areas? Can you see the mountains and valleys in the paper right here? That's why we had to keep adding layers. Now, when I pick this up, do you see how it's all blended? That's why it took so long. Do you see where different parts look like they're curled under, or they go under another part? That's because of all those layers. Now I can come in here because this because this right here looks almost like a line to me, and right here, I am going to come with my number 30. All right, I'm going to try something here and try not to mess y'all up. I'm going to move the camera. Y'all hold on. Did that change the angle for you? Ta-da, it worked. So now you can see what I'm doing. It'll quit bouncing in just a minute. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. I'm bringing it out. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to bring this color out some. And then I'm going to have to go around here, bring all this out a little. I'm just showing you how to fix it. If you end up with just a line going across, you don't want just that line. So let's bring this color down, and this time you do see me working in streaks, in straight lines instead of the circles. It's because that's going to be my overlap point. Imagine those are the fingers. Now I'm going to go to the next lighter color. That was number 30, so now I'm going to 71, and now I'm going to come back in with my circles and blend that. Just blend across there and go all the way up into all those other layers. See how that comes out some now? And it's just ever so slightly, but sometimes just that ever so slightly matters. And no, I've not sharpened these pencils. Some people really want to work with a sharp pencil. See how I'm laying it down on its side? I don't need a good point on this for what I'm doing. Now, when I was up in this back part, I needed a good point. All right, but I'm still okay here. In the oils, an oil-based pencil, I also notice they just don't need sharpening as often. And I'm not real sure as to why, except maybe the oils just are working through better than the wax does for me anyway. Okay, and then I went down, so I've got to go down to the next color, down to the 05. And see, I worked on the side. See where that is? But then now I've got a point on it right there. If I needed that point, I could use it. But I don't need that point right now, so I'm just going to work on the side again. And I'm going to come in and blend in what I just did. I went down one color each time. Just blending that in. And that timer means we've been going just a little over 30 minutes, so I need to stop. Now I'm going to come back and do this again, because see where the new lines are? That's what we just did. So I'm going to come in and do this again. Get up in those little areas. And you can wait and do this part here at the very end of your picture. I just did it as we went so that you could see it. But there, now that's one petal. And see where I made the streaks instead of going in the circles? Now I'm going to try to zoom back out for y'all. I need to get a remote, but I don't know if I can get a remote for my phone that will do this zooming. Anybody wants to send me some sort of a way to do this, you let me know. All right, so to the right you see my original, and to the left you see the one I just colored. Look there. All right, I have more intense color